Thank you for the introduction. That's great. It's great to see everybody here down in the basement. I'm glad you could make it. I also have to thank my friend and colleague Russ for making the trip and joining me on this adventure that we've went on. We promise you something very unique in this presentation. What should the group expect to see, Russ?
Well, thank you for inviting me along, Wes, into this adventure. We decided that it's 3 o'clock on Wednesday at DevCon, and you've heard a lot of technical talks already. Not that you're not going to hear that here, but we're going to have a little bit of fun, we hope. So come along with us and join us in this fun.
Yes, we do hope to have a little bit of fun, and it's a bit random. Who knows what's going to happen? But I have to say that Life for employees, if you read our handbook, we have 5 values. And the 5th value is to stay nerdy, right on my t-shirt. So we up the game. This is extremely nerdy.
Performance bonuses for us.
Yeah. So to check, how many of you have heard of Dungeons and Dragons? I think we have the right audience for this talk.
Definitely,
That's
definitely.
Great. How many of you have played it in some form? Tabletop or video game? All right, that's great. Anyone recognize this clip, this picture? All right, some hands. It's Stranger Things. Dungeons and Dragons is in popular media in some forms. It was in E.T., the extraterrestrial, and it was here in the basement in Stranger Things, much like we are here today in the basement.
Very appropriate.
Very apt. And they are set up to play. So what's it going to take for us to play Dungeons and Dragons? Well, to set up for business, it's going to take quite a few things. We're going to need the player's handbook. This is the rules, very specific, detailed rules about how this game is played. And it's a big book.
A lot of pages.
Yes. We're going to need character sheets. That's the data required to make our game work. All of the bits and pieces about our character, the inventory, their attributes. It's a lot. There's much here. Sorry, I didn't bring enough for everybody, unfortunately.
Good attendance.
Pencils and erasers. I've got 3. Dice set. We have one here. Very helpful for the randomness of our game. We're going to need miniatures and tokens. I've got these here for the game. A battle map and grid. There you go.
How big is this box?
Like this. I realize we don't have a time down here. That might be risky. I hope you have a clock on yours.
I'll run it.
There's a lot. A notepad and journal. I'm going to use my Liferay one, just in case. And that's the bottom of the box.
All right.
But we need imagination and creativity, which might be difficult after a long conference, a long day, maybe you stayed up late. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm lacking. I'm sure everybody else is lacking in the imagination and creativity department right now.
Yeah, I feel the same. So how can technology help us with this very unique issue in which we need to solve a problem with all of these elements? Well, we have some great tools to bring to this scenario that will help in this outcome.
Yeah, so let's break down what we need to start automating the process here. We're going to use Liferay Portal. We put Portal specifically there and not DXP because we are using the free Portal version. But that's where our interaction hub is going to be. Both the data and the user interactions are going to live in Portal. That should be obvious to most of you who have experience with Liferay. And then we're going to need some AI, as we said, to fill in the creative storytelling, the imagination, the creativity that we're all lacking a bit at this point in the conference. And in between that, we need to orchestrate the process. We need to orchestrate the flow of data, conditions, logic, that sort of thing. So this looks about like what we're going to need for this digital transformation.
Check. We can make this happen with some of the things we've already been talking about at this conference, Liferay and our partner, Camunda.
Yeah, and it's been great that we've been already introduced in 2 other talks to Camunda, and they've done a great job introducing not only Camunda itself, but even the underlying idea of BPM. And so we have LifeRay. This is LifeRay's DevCon, right? So we have LifeRay we're going to use for those low-code experiences that we need. And then we're going to use Camunda for orchestrating the processes in the background. It's like our logic engine. And it also brings the AI components into the system very conveniently, as you'll see. And it's really important to point out the synergy between LifeRay and Camunda, both Java-based with roots in open source.
So a good fit there as far as technologies. And I have installed LifeRay, Camunda, on my local laptop here, both in those versions that we can get accessible from LifeRay and Camunda's downloads page. I'll talk about that soon. To get set up, I have all of these tools from these titans of technology here. I've got fragments from LifeRay to provide an excellent experience to the users. I've got objects, which could be those data sheets where we're keeping track of all the information about the users. I've got triggers, webhooks, when something's saved, when something's updated. I can send that to the process management. Notifications to users when something happens. Maybe those chat systems that we've been seeing in many of the talks today. And LifeRay's creation of entities through API, that's the cohesion, the way that information sent back and forth between these two technologies. And on the Camunda side, they are experts in what they do too. They're experts in process orchestration, integrations with systems, including now a LifeRay connector in the Camunda marketplace, the LifeRay connector. And conditions, things change based on the information set and the decision-making processes in those workflows. And it's important to point out these agentic AI tools that are available because Camunda will allow for both deterministic and non-deterministic workflows where things can happen based on the input, what's sent, and that you can have an agentic process trigger an ad hoc subprocess. Stefan talked about this on the main stage, where he talked about the importance of that ad hoc subprocess in choosing outcomes, and then returning the resulting data into LifeRay through the headless APIs. So with these things in mind, we present to you LifeRay Forge. And we get to demonstrate that to you right now. So here's the interface of LifeRay Forge running on my local machine, and I have a character down here. We can look at that. And this character is a human fighter from that. I can see his stats and talk. You know, the main piece that we'll be interacting with here is this DM chat. That's the Dungeon Master. And as I send information, it's going to get sent over to Camunda, and Camunda will then process that. So let's start by creating a character. I'll type in right here, because I only have one character in the system right now.
Yeah, we definitely need another character.
All right.
How about a dwarf?
Dwarf would be good. Let's create a level 3 male dwarven cleric, a healer. Because our fighter would probably need a healer. And I'll correct my spelling. With a funny name, why not? I'll send that off. And that is going to add a record into LifeRay objects, which is going to trigger a webhook that is sending that information over to Camunda, which is going to do the majority of the work here. Let's go into this user and see what we should expect. This is Garrett Holt. I'm going to open that in a new window, and then I get the character detail. This is a display page template. And I can see all the information. He's very strong, he's a fighter, and he has a background, and he has equipment, and he has inventory. And the interesting thing here is the inventory is particular to the type of character that we want to create, that nice relation. And you have a nice story that you were testing this out with your kids.
Yeah, as you can imagine, working on it late at night around the regular job, and my kids were watching me over my shoulder. As I'm creating Dungeons and Dragons characters, of course they're interested. And so I was told not just to create the dwarf, but to make him fat. So I put that into the AI, and I saw what it said, and sure enough, he came back as a fat, jolly dwarf who was kind of the life of all the parties at the festivals, right? And one of his inventory items was quite appropriate. It was a tankard of endless ale.
Yes.
And so we get some interesting creativity from the AI.
I'm sure sometimes we've always wanted to have a tankard of endless ale. If only we were so lucky. So the AI came back a little bit. The cleric's name is Kegnod Blessbeard. Very weird name, very funny. And if I refresh here, I now have 2 characters in my dropdown because I can retrieve that from the fragment from the headless API, and I can see that Kegnog does not have a chat. And so it's starting over. He doesn't have any chat history if I switch back and forth. And then down here, I see that's a picture of our Kegnog. He's a stout, cheerful cleric who tends to both temple and tavern. All right. That's funny. So if I go in here, I see his details, and I've talked long enough that it provided the inventory for this character back, which is a related object with separate records. Now, in this case, he has got a brewer's kit and a warhammer, ready for both outcomes, I guess.
Sure. Yeah.
As well as some rations and things that are appropriate to the character. So when we talk about this and we're sending that context to Camunda, it's taking that information and making smart decisions based on what's provided in the context. We'll show Camunda after a few more tests, time willing. Is this an accurate time?
It's a few minutes off. So
Okay, we're more like
22 past.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Good. What else can we do now that we've got 2 characters? We've got to figure out who goes first, right?
Rules are important in this game.
So when we talk about this giant set of rules, you could train an LLM to know all of this and then ask it questions like, knowing who goes first in Dungeons & Dragons is initiative. How do you pick or understand initiative? I'll ask the AI. Oh, I'm clicking down. I'll misspelled it. Nope, that is not it. Oh my goodness. Teeny screen on my side. Cal. If the hardest part is typing it in, that's a okay demo. Okay, so at this point, I've asked the AI, how is initiative calculated? And it's going through its understanding of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, this very specific knowledge base. And it's trying to figure out how to respond back to the player. And with this agent, we've told it to always act like a very helpful but stern dungeon master. And hopefully soon it's going to respond back with the rules of that based on its knowledge. And here we go. It says that we should roll this 20-sided die here and add it to our dexterity, and there's a whole bunch of math and stuff of how to take care of this. And it's helped us with this information from its knowledge base. Very helpful. All from the same Camunda workflow process. But now that we have a need to roll dice, maybe instead of having a collection of dice that I lost in my pile of stuff. It's somewhere in there.
That pile.
What can we do?
We can roll, as it suggested, a 20-sided dice, maybe multiple times.
I'll roll a 20-sided die, maybe 7 times.
Sounds great.
And maybe pick the top 3 rolls.
Perfect.
All right, we'll give it another task. So in any case in which we have this agentic AI and this ad hoc subprocess, we're telling it what the capabilities are. We're defining that within this Camunda workflow, so it can't go beyond what we've told it that it has access to. And in this case, one of the things that we've told it to do, in addition to creating a character and looking at the rule book, is to be able to roll the dice, and we got those results back. Fabian rolled my 20-sided die and rolled a 1. This is better. I got 20, 20, and 18. That's how it's done. So But it doesn't matter how you type it in. The AI is smart enough to pick up those results. I can say, roll dice for 4d20 and 2d8 and 1d4, and it's going to take that information and just, the format doesn't really throw, probably language if I typed it out in Spanish, it might also know the outcome too, because AIs are pretty smart about that. And it can take that information and provide us a result back. Really cool. So I'm worried that this is easy to go long because we got a lot of things the AI can do. What else can we help with the player with?
Well, players need to do things like go on quests in Dungeons and Dragons. So is there anything we can do about that?
Let's write a quest using the AI. Any recommendations from the audience on where our character could go on a quest? Silent. I can make one up.
That's the creativity and imagination.
Oh, no. The Green Dungeon.
I like it.
Thank you, Dave. Create a quest into the Green. Oh, wow, spelling, goodness. Oh, my goodness. Why does it not help me? All right, there we go. We'll start that off. I can turn my brightness. Oh, my brightness was way down. That's better. All right. All right, as it works on that, I want to say that in some of the cases like inventory, we want to offload that task. It was important that the user gets feedback back quickly, like this. But there's other things that we want to do during that time after it's created to split off processes, run parallel things, like create individual inventory items that we didn't want to slow down the result to that end user. Makes a lot of sense. So in this case, Kegnog Stout and falls into fevered dreams, a moss-choked ruin, the Green Dungeon. Very creative. So late on a Wednesday after a long conference, we didn't have to use our mental powers to come up with something creative. We got it back. And what's nice is the level range is appropriate to Kegnog Blessbeard because he's level 3, and this quest is 2 to 4. Very handy. Okay, so if I go into his details to it zoomed in unnecessarily.
Demo effect.
I'll go to another tab. Problem solved.
There you go.
Okay. If we go down, he has good wisdom. For clerics, that's important. And past his inventory, I come down here, and we've got quests. So green, I'll take a green drought of the verdant vault. Here we go. We're coming in. This is his quest. Oh, it solved a problem for us. It made a map to get there. So, well, isn't that helpful? We didn't need to take the time to draw it. It took the information, the character, and put that together and made a map. So we're going to look at how Kamunda helped us with that problem. We won't be able to go on the time for this, to do this quest, actually, because we've got limited time here. So what is something we can do with the character that doesn't involve going into the Dave's Green Dungeon?
Well, maybe at the end of a quest, the character might encounter a chest.
Okay.
Perhaps they'll get some inventory out of it. So let's ask it to open a chest for us.
That's easy enough. Open a chest and take the item inside.
And you can see that in the character selector, Kegnog is still selected, so this should be specific for him.
Yeah, I did. Last time we did our test, I left it on the other character. All right, so it's thinking about what might be appropriate for this character to get from a chest, and then we'll open it up and show what's behind the scenes here, because that's important. You guys want to see how we did this.
You can tell we had a lot of fun prompting the AI, though, to come up with these things for us.
Tankard of ever-flowing ale.
Hey, we got it.
It's back. That's great. Okay, so Very helpful for our stout dwarven character is that he gets this tankard from his quest. And it has some value, it tells you about the detail, and it regenerates hit points if you're damaged. Yeah, very cool. Okay, we had our fun. Let's talk about how we built this. That went really well. All right, good. Okay, so we have these items that are part of our schema, and really the important bit I want to talk about is the player actions. Player actions, okay, it looks fine. I think it's cropped on this screen. These are the things I sent to the AI, and it responds back. So we created an object which fired a webhook, and the response is what we get from the AI. Pretty simple concept because webhooks can interact with these other systems, and a patch method from our headless API can then update this record.
And you'll see that when we get over to Camunda.
Okay. Here we go. We're going into objects and Forge here, and I can view this in the model builder. Let's zoom back. So if we talk about the schema, the complexity of what we want to do here, it's shown in this model that is all the things required to make this a successful system. So we couldn't have broken this all down, and we couldn't have done this by hand because we've got journal entries and spells and abilities and quests all assigned to the user, and inventory items. And inventory items, well, there's a lot of detail there. This would be a lot of writing to go in and talk about type and rarity, description and weight, and if it's equipped or not. There's a lot of complexity in the schema for a game that's marked 12 and older. So characters are related to users. If one person signs in, it should be a different character set than the other user. And player actions are associated with the signed in user. All of that is required as the basic structure of making this run. And then the fragments are the UI that really make this nice for that end user to interact with this system. Pretty cool. Now, I'm going to go into the player action, and I can go in through Edit View. Here's all of our fields, and if I go over to action, message to the Camunda Agentic DM. Here we go. And in this, I can go to the actions, and after adding, it fires a webhook straight to that Camunda instance that I have running locally. Because of some security that's in place in Camunda, you can, with any webhook call, you can put a key in. So we have Liferay secret magic key as our very secure way to make sure Camunda's getting the right message and nobody's hacking that connection. So we're using this secret. Okay. Now we get to go over to operate. And before we do, we might go to the modeler. So Davide, when he had a talk on the main stage yesterday, I hope you caught it, very good talk, he talked about the different components of Camunda and that there's operate that's running the process, and you can see those processes, the user tasks, and a modeler which you can define. So if I come here and bring up my modeler, here's what it looks like from the Camunda side. Zoom in. Okay, so some things I wanted to point out here is anything in the orangey color is AI. Starting with, we have this Agentic DM review component that's understanding the request and funneling it into the appropriate tools that we've given access to that DM. The heart of this is that we've given a bag of tools, a box of tools in this case, to our Agentic AI to choose from what's appropriate based on the user's request or the context. And we are also putting documentation elements. So in the case of create a new user, we've documented it as the tool to create a new character, attributes, and description. And that gives enough context to the AI in that ad hoc subprocess to choose this when anybody says, create a new character. All right. And then there's a whole bunch of items that are marked with Liferay logos, like this one.
Right, so you saw the player actions object back in LifeRay, and that kicked off the webhook, which sent that payload into this connector in Camunda. And so the connectors are basically divided into inbound and outbound connectors. The webhook sends to the inbound connector to Camunda, and that's available in the marketplace. So we'll go over there and check out the connector page for a moment.
I can do that.
So we can see. You can see what's available
in the Camunda marketplace.
So you have various options there. The LifeRay connectors are available. You have the installation guide, which leads to LifeRay's documentation, an example process there, and there's even a button back there where you could click for SaaS as well. But this is showing our documentation on learn.liferay.com, where we've documented how to get set up with Camunda and get these connectors running.
And I know the documentation team has done a great job laying out all the different things that you might need to know, common pitfalls, and ways to create a process like this for your outcomes. Some really good information and definitions about all of the important pieces.
So back in the modeler now, you see how we come from the webhook, and in the webhook, it's actually quite important to go back there. We're going to set some variables out of that payload. We're gonna use Camunda expressions and grab some variables that we're gonna need in various parts of our diagram throughout. So most of it's gonna be used for the AI tasks to be able to add context and things like that.
Good. Yep. The class primary key is the way that you'd identify a certain player message. So when you're updating it later in the process, you have to have that. But all of this contextual information is important.
Then right there, it moves along to the other type of connector, the outbound connector. And in this diagram, we're getting a character. If there is if there is a character ID rather, we're going to get a character from the LifeRay headless APIs. And we're going to be able to set some things, again, set some variables out of that so that the AI tasks can refer to the context that it has from the API call.
Good. And that routes us into creating a prompt. And our prompt is what we inform the AI we need to do and provide that context. And in the agentic agent task, that's our longest information. The system prompt is the definition of what we are asking that to do. That's how to react back to the player, how to deal with incoming messages, advising it to take note of the tool set that it has available to it, and pick one or two tools that are appropriate based on that context. And then there are certain things that Camunda is really good at as far as creating different sub-processes that we can drill down to. If you notice on the right, I have two that I'm creating an inventory sub-process that I want to offload so I can get an answer back to the user quickly. And in the case of creating a quest map, that is also a case in which generating image takes time. So you want to say that the quest is done, give an update to the user, and run that sub-process from what is a signal within Camunda to trigger that sub-process. And then after all of it's done, we have this, the response back to the user's prompt. And here, we can see that we're using a patch method based on player action in which we're routing the response, the agent response back to that user, and it's shown up in that chat. Simple, right? All seems very smooth now that it's all put together, but it took us a while to build this out and come up with this, what we feel to be a pretty good outcome. So let's show the operate side. I'm going to come back here. I keep getting stuck in that full screen view. Okay, we're coming back here, and let's make one more character just for... Should we skip this one? I think we're going a little long.
Yeah, we should skip it.
Okay, we're skipping that.
Yep.
Okay, create.
And so this, as Wes is typing it in, this is going to give us a chance to go back to the other Camunda tool we want to show you, Operate, where we'll be able to see the running process.
Create a
And inspect what's
halfling
happening.
rogue with a sneaky name. There we go. Kicking it off, we're starting another character creation process here. This is operates processes, and I can go into the process and refresh this. I'm logged out. I'm going to log back in, and we have this running process here. And as Davide nicely showed us, that we can track those positions based on these green circles here, where it's at. We know it's in the ad hoc sub-process for our Dungeon Master AI tools, and it's now trying to create a character. It's now finished that, and it's went back to see if there's any other tools that it should run. Now it's sent back a response to the user. This is went to the upper right. This is the gray completed task. And now in the sub-task that we've split out as a parallel process, it's going through the process of generating the inventory, which is a longer process, so we broke it off. So back in, no, not that one. We have our halfling rogue, this thief, Pippa Shadow Toes Underbow. Well, all fun. We only have limited time to play games here at DevCon. So, what's the result? What value did we provide?
I think that was a success. You look at all the things that we managed to replace.
All right, we got it. We did it. We saved a bunch of time for the user. We added creativity. We did things that would take, just talking to Danny as we were getting this kicked off, he said, if we're playing Dungeons and Dragons, we need 3 hours or more. So we did this in about 20 minutes getting started. Hope it was good. Now, this is gameplay. This is something we did for fun, for this discussion. But imagine if you're not talking about a rogue, you're talking about a new customer or employee. Your character creation is really your customer onboarding. You're helping a user access to the system. You're giving them access to the right information based on the context. Your quest path could be order fulfillment. It could be case resolution for tickets. It could be many different things that this orchestration helps you solve for that is well beyond this game. And the inventory, documents, service entitlements, all of the things that Liferay keeps track of, this could be part of that creation based on that onboarding or context of what the user's asking for. And finally, that game master, the AI-guided digital assistant, that's your helpful guide through the user's experience to make sure they're accessing the right things securely and with a trustworthy, great experience.
Right, so you can see just a simple customer onboarding use case might help you wrap your head around some of the things you can do with Camunda that don't even involve AI at all. You can bring your webhook in as we showed, and then split a task and send it to one review depending on the outcome or another review depending on the outcome, and make as many API calls as you need along the way.
And when we've been discussing things with our partnership and our partner Camunda, a great team that we've worked with, a lot of cases that we've discussed have been in the banking and financial services sector, the BFSI, and we've done a number of webinars with them talking on these really important subjects where instead of playing a game, you're making sure that there's no fraud happening, fraud detection. You're also evaluating a user to make sure that they have a proper credit check. All of these related systems could be integrated with a number of components that Camunda provides through its marketplace and its out-of-the-box connectors. And of course, we have to thank our AI-guided assistant, which helped us with that creativity and implementing things based on an ad hoc sub-process where we get to define what it has access to.
All right, so for our takeaways, you've seen you can build systems that think like a dungeon master. And what is a dungeon master like? Well, they can spin stories out of nowhere. They know all the details, know all the rules. And so anytime you need to combine deterministic processes like you see in a regular workflow type of thing, with the dynamic intelligence of AI, it's a really good use case for a Camunda Liferay system.
Well, thank you for taking this time to enjoy this journey with us. But if you want to take some journeys on your own, everything that we've shown is available to you on Camunda.com downloads section. And the Liferay connector's on the marketplace, marketplace.camunda.com. And I know the documentation teams making sure that you have a good experience through this journey by providing you all of the information you need to make sure you know how to implement these tools. They're doing a great job.
We're trying anyway. All right, so all the resources we created are available for you to use. Wes has a GitHub repo there with the QR code. That includes the fragments you saw, the object structures, and the diagram that we were using. And just to note one more time, this was built on Liferay Portal GA132, so already available stuff. And it's not the Enterprise Edition either. So,
yep, free to use in all of the things that we've shown today. Once again, we're glad that you're here at DevCon. I hope you're enjoying your time in Madrid. Hope to see you at the party tonight and Unconference tomorrow. Be there, and let's build great things. Thank you.